Senate Joint Resolution number 15, short title is Oppose International Designating of Land, has been read the third time and is before the Senate on final passage.
Is there debate? Senator Giessel.
Thank you, Mr. President. This resolution is about Beringia. So what is Beringia? Well, it's an international park designated in western Alaska. Why should we be concerned about it? Because it's an additional taking of land. You know, the ANILCA said that Alaska had given enough land for conservation units, and we have a no more clause in there that the federal government will take no more land. And yet in 1985, the National Park Service established the Bering Land Bridge National Preserve up by Kotzebue. In the early 90s, there was an informal agreement endorsed by Presidents Bush and Gorbachev, anticipating that an international park would be formed, with part of Russia on one side of the Bering Straits and part of Alaska on our side. In 2013, the Beringia National Park was established on the Chukotka Peninsula on the Russian side. This was joined by the Beringia Land Bridge National Preserve on the Seward Peninsula, that's on our side, of course, and Cape Krusenstein National Monument, which is just north of Kotzebue. Now, keep in mind Cape Krusenstein. That area contains the road that Red Dog Mine and the export facility traverse to get the minerals to Tidewater. It required an act of Congress to build that road, Mr. President. In October of this last year, 2013, a memorandum of understanding was signed between Russia and the United States, and it's waiting signature by the President, establishing this international park. The U.S. National Park Service says this park will facilitate cultural exchange, talk about heritage, indigenous hunting and fishing, but it sounds very nice. However, the Alaska state government has not been any part of these discussions. Congress has not been invited to weigh in on this international park formation. It's being driven by the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. After Cape Krusenstein National Monument and the Bering Land Bridge National Preserve designations, the UN organization went after other designations in Alaska, establishing the Eisenbeck Lagoon National Wildlife Refuge as a Ramsar site. Now, you remember just a few months ago, Secretary Jewell blocked the road from Cold Bay to King Cove because that area is a Ramsar site, designated area by the United Nations. The United Nations also has established a World Heritage Site, a couple of them actually in Alaska, Glacier Bay and St. Elias, Wrangell-St. Elias National Parks. Did you know that Denali National Park is designated a biosphere reserve by the United Nations? There is an ongoing effort to create a buffer zone extending even outside Denali National Park. In fact, there's a resolution right now in the other body that would establish that. So these United Nations land designations simply take more and more of Alaska's land. So this particular resolution draws attention to this. The governor has sent multiple letters to the federal government, to Secretary of State Clinton back in that time. Senator Murkowski, Congressman Young have sent letters of concern both to Secretary of Interior Jewell and Secretary of State Kerry, asking them to pause and consider the concerns expressed by the state of Alaska. You, Mr. President, and our majority leadership have sent a similar letter, and CACFA has identified this international park as a priority concern, wanting to stop it. The area that the National Park Service identifies that Beringia could ultimately cover goes from the top of Alaska down to the Aleutian Chain and all the way over to the Mackenzie River in Canada. This, at minimum, would take in Red Dog Mine, the NPRA, Prudhoe Bay, Point Thompson, and Anwar. So I'm very concerned that Camel's nose gets under the tent. National Park Service continues to expand this international designation. This resolution would ask that the approval by the state legislature and U.S. Congress be required before any further designations or action on Beringia has taken place, and that our state regulators be part of the discussion. So I urge a yes vote on SJR 15. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.